Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
On goes Bull. Speedball might yet win it here for Wolves. Flash in the shot. What a goal!
Hello, holla, and welcome. And we are back for a 13th season at Wolves Fancast, part of the 90 Min Network. Guys, it's been hot, it's been sticky, but it's great to be back. I'm joined today with Tom and Adam. How are we both feeling tonight?
Still pretty warm, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hot, but not unbearably hot, I think is for... We've kind of gone down from DEFCON 5. Well, I can't remember which way around it goes, but it's definitely not as bad, is it?
Ironically, I've had the fan on more today than I did yesterday. I don't know why. He quite clearly is very much cooler than he was Monday, Tuesday. But the fan that I impulse purchased last weekend has, I've had my money's worth out of it so far. Although I'll probably put an extra £5 on my electric bill for the next month.
Yeah, I've been feeling the heat. The little tower fan that we had bought last year basically doesn't do anything. So it has been very sticky here. But you know what? I don't mind because I'm optimistic again, fellas. It's been a bit of a tricky off-season, hasn't it, for Wolves? It's not been the most non-toxic of atmospheres, but it feels like we've turned the corner in the last week with the signing of Nathan Collins and, of course, tonight's 4-0 win over Alaves. I mean, let's go right into talking about the game first because it's just happened. Was this just the perfect preparation for our European tour when we're back in the Europa League after next year? Because, guys, I am all on board after a 4-0 win. I'm there. Adam, I know you're president of Positive Club. Am I joining you here?
Book our tickets, Rich. Let's book our tickets. We'll be back in Alicante again this time next year with the warm up for the Europa League. Do you know what? It's funny because I'm not in bygone years when it comes to pre-season. I've been quite excited when we've had like our annual trip to the Bescot to take over half the Bescot Stadium and like make Wolves look a bit silly, or I don't know. I remember the Soul back in the years when we played Shrewsbury at their place.
Shrewsbury and Crew.
That's it, yeah. Crew, of course. I don't forget Crew. Because normally at that point you're sort of itching to get back into watching Wolves again. And over the last few years, like I've been a bit blasé about pre-seasons. Like I've not really followed it very much, or I've not even gone to the quote-unquote glamour home friendlies that Wolves have, like against middle-ranking Spanish opposition like Valladolid or Celta Vigo or something like that. But I was quite keen, quite interested in watching tonight's game. Obviously, there's been a lot of Wolves fans gone out there taking the sights and sounds of good old Benidorm at the Rose and Crown. So yeah, I was quite looking forward to it, and you're right, Rich. You know, the summer's it's not been the best, really, considering the fact that we've just been waiting for a player to be signed. So it's just good to just get back out on the pitch and see how we line up and how we shape up and get the pre-season program underway. Which we don't even have the glamour home friendly this year, do we? It's just all around Europe, which, as I say, we're hoping that we're going to get used to.
Yeah, mini European tour. I mean, you're right in terms of this was like the first game. I know we've had a couple of behind closed doors friendlies, which weren't exactly successful, with Chiquinho managing to tear his ACL and whatever with a pretty horrendous tackling. I didn't see it live, but I saw the still of it. So in terms of the starting lineup, I think it was kind of interesting. Pretty much full strength starting 11. Sar wasn't starting, but Sarkic was, who very highly rated. But apart from that, I think that's basically a Premier League outfit in terms of your outfield players, isn't it, Tom? I mean, assuming that, you know, Moutinho comes in. No, sorry, Moutinho was starting. You know, potentially Collins, let's say, comes in, or Kilman. That's, you'd be happy if we were starting a Premier League game with that 11, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's by and large at the moment. Yeah, what we're looking at. I think, you know, you can look at the bench, and I think that's where ultimately, you know, you got to look at where our problems might lie, you know, going forward with depth. But as an 11, I've said this for years, our starting 11, if they're all fit, is decent. It's fine. It's when the fatigue and injuries kick in, that's where, you know, we have the issue, which hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll address to some extent. I know there's a couple of bodies missing from that. So you got, was it Saar, Semedo, Hwang, and who was the other one? There's someone else in the stands
Traore,
as well.
I don't believe.
Traore, yeah.
So yeah, there's a couple of definite. I was going to say first 18 players, or what will now be first. Yeah. I mean, for one thing that sort of sticks out for me is, all right, the new signing didn't start, but like a new signing times 2 did start in terms of Gibbs White and Neto. And we can't judge an awful lot from a preseason friendly, but it did feel like a breath of fresh air having those two playing. I mean, especially Neto first half. That was just like what we've been crying out for, what we were missing the entire last season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was peak. The amount of times he was on his bike when Neves got the ball, and that ball over the top was on every time. And yeah, he's got that way of running. He gets his head down, doesn't he? Really gets his head down, and he's just direct.
Yeah.
And we did, you know, that's one thing that we are not. Wolves, we are not direct. We haven't been over the last few years, but yeah, it really bodes well. I think it's. Yeah, it could be a massive player for us this season. Neto, fingers crossed.
This will be his true comeback, really, because coming back partway through last season, you know, it's quite hard to come back into it trying to hit the ground running straight away. Yeah. And hopefully, if all goes well this pre-season, he gets like the full run of games behind him. And he's obviously, if he's fit, he starts. That's probably his status within the team, isn't it? Really, if he's fit, he's got to be playing. So I thought it was quite exciting to see him and Gibbs White. I mean, I must be honest. I've got to hold my hands up here, right? Gibbs White, right? I have been very critical of him in the past. In fact, I've said before. It might have been when he went out to was it Swansea? I think basically I just said I'll never see. We'll probably never see him in the Wolves shirt again, right? So automatically, as of this evening, I'm wrong because he's put a Wolves shirt back on again tonight. But I've got to be honest. Something really wants him to succeed. Sorry, at the club, I really want to see him do well. I've probably been swayed by like how well he did for Sheffield United last year. I just think he's got a lot of unwarranted flack, and like whatever girl he's dating, he's got a lot of them. You know, he's getting flack because of her or something. I just think he should get a proper chance in like a proper position. Like we shouldn't mess him about like we have done in the past. That's not necessarily been Bruno's fault. That's been Nuno's fault. I think he's been messed about. But he showed today, when we get into a bit more in the weeds of the game, that it's got quality, and I really hope that he succeeds. Because actually now, if we do, I know how we lined up today. It could be completely different. Come, you know, Leeds away when we could. You never know. We might just revert back to 5 at the back and upset everyone on the end of the day. But if Neto and Gibbs White play alongside Roll, brilliant. And we've also got 2 other options off the bench as well. Podence and Hwang. So, you know, we've got good options in those positions. Well, I say good options because it's new season, so I'm giving Hwang a clean slate as well. New season, new start.
Yeah, I'm all on board, and I think similar to, I guess, you with Kilman Pricey, I've been very much pro Gibbs White basically since he started, and always been appreciative. He's a young player who never really had a position even at youth level. Because he's just a talented footballer. In the same way, I guess, like Jesse Lingard, like I know he's a good footballer, but I couldn't tell you what his best position is. And I think that's been a bit of a flaw around Gibbs White that, is he an attacking midfielder? Does he play almost as a striker off somebody else? Can he play centre midfield? Because he can kind of do it all because he's got good balance and he's a good footballer, but it then holds him back. And I think that held him back under Nuno to a degree. It halted his progression. But last season and at Sheffield United, he had runs of games. He had time to, really push on and develop. So, seeing them too. But we'll start with Neto because it brings us on neatly onto the first goal as well. And Tom, you hit the nail on the head for me that one thing that seems to have been missing from Wolves under those first couple of years under Nuno to the last couple of years is that lack of a ball over the top. You don't see Neves try to play it anymore. You don't see Cody do a raking pass anymore because basically we don't have anyone who likes to be on the last man and break, whereas Pedro Neto thrives on it. And that's how the first goal came about from, I think as Dan described it on Twitter, a Hail Mary pass from Neves and you get Neto chopped down. But then Jimenez steps up, dispatches a penalty, and what has potential to be an iconic celebration, do we think, guys?
Yeah, I want to make that's got to be his trademark now, surely. I thought I quite liked it, to be honest. I mean, people say it was daft, but I thought it was quite good. Yeah.
See, to the uneducated, people will just generally think that, he's like when he got the Sin Cara mask out, people just think this is his new thing. Like he's just got an eye patch from somewhere ready to pull out. They don't actually know what it is. So there's some people on Twitter who think it was this guy with the eye patch, not knowing that it's actually there to protect the soft spot on his head.
Because I'm right in thinking he's got, I was going to say, for really important shout of this podcast, he's got a new protective gear for this season, hasn't he? So it is a lot smaller and like that sort of shape, I believe it's.
He had it at the back end of last year, didn't he?
Yeah. The last few games, but I never got the sort of that halo thing like he had around his head because I didn't get how he could head the ball right with that at all. Surely it's coming off at all angles if you get it on your forehead. Whereas this, obviously, it's only protecting the area that matters, and ultimately the rest of his head is clear and can head the ball normally. So I didn't really get that. I think they were sort of learning on the job. I think last season with that one really, but I think he has to wear something from what I gather from like an insurance point of view, a legal point of view. So it will be on forever. But I think the design now hopefully is just so much better than previous.
Yeah, because I remember, I think at the start of a couple of games into last season where he tore it off. He was a game.
Yeah, Brentford. It was Brentford at home. He lost his rag.
And at the end of the game, I saw the medical staff were going mad at him at the end of the game for taking it off. What are you doing? You're mentalist. That's there to save your life essentially. But on the tackle itself on the game and Neto, right? We were how many minutes into the game? Was it about 6 or 7 minutes in?
It was early
early on, wasn't it? I thought the first half, especially, that it was quite a spicy game, considering it's. I don't know where Alaves are with their pre-season program, but this is our quote unquote proper first pre-season game. All first half, it was very, very agitated, very aggressive, and so that guy, I don't know who it was, that guy who flew in on Neto. I was like, where the hell's that come from?
And then he argued about it. Can you believe he argued about that? I've never seen a more blatant penalty in my life. He just wiped him out. I don't get that.
It was. It infuriates me. You say it couldn't have been more blatant. It was textbook definition of just trying to do anything. You're not going to get sent off. It's a friendly. Just put your hands up and just move on. No need to argue it, but always good to see Jimenez score and play quite well as well. But then Neto turns from creator to provider, scoring again. Really lovely, well finished goal for Wolves for his second. I mean, I feel like everybody is predicting him to have a big season going forwards because, say, he didn't really get the run of the mill last season. I think he made about 12 appearances in total, which was surprising. But a lot of it was off the bench, and a lot of good grace goes into that because of the injury and whatever. But he seems to have really hit the ground running.
What I liked it was the front three combined, didn't they, for that? I think Gibbs White drove forward, nice little 1-2 with him, and he nearly overran it, then slipped it through to Neto. So that was quite good, and it was nice to see Gibbs White quite central. I think that's one thing I really picked up on what they seem to be trying to do is when we had the ball, particularly at the keeper, the centre halves would go to full back basically, and then let Neves come in the slot of centre half, and then he was playing almost like a advanced sweeper role sort of. So he just took over what Cody's role would usually be, and then the fullbacks were sort of past the halfway line. So I do quite like that sort of aspect of it. I think that's one thing you pick up in pre-season is formation and style and style of play and how you're building attacks really. And I did quite like that. That it seemed like we seemed to get a lot more bodies forward, whereas before we'd have the three, and then be the three centre halves, and then Neves was coming deep to take the ball off Cody's toes. Whereas now the fullbacks pushed on, so it just left the two centre halves at the back, and then Neves was coming deep, sort of as usual. So and then obviously I think again that came from a bit of central play, and then Neves slipping the ball through to Gibbs White. I think.
Yeah, I think it's felt like a lot the last couple of seasons for Cody and Neves can sometimes occupy that same space, and that's one of the reasons I think a lot of people, including myself, have been calling for four at the back, because it opens up the space for Neves to get on the ball and have a greater range of pitch. And you say you always have that knock-on effect through the different areas of the pitch as well. It allows the fullbacks to push up. It allows the wingers to potentially tuck inside if need be and join in central attacks. And it gives even the likes of Den Donker more of a roam as well, who still pops up in his wing position. We'll get there, but there was a point where, with Gibbs White coming in centrally, it's like he just sees that spot and just penetrates it. We'll get there, but
he was unlucky with that one. That was a wonder save by that keeper. To be fair, he really hit that well. I was expecting him to either go back 10 foot over the bar or just bobble through to the keeper, so he could just sit on it pretty much. But he hit it pretty well. To be fair, he was unlucky with that.
It was when the ball was kind of almost behind him in a way, the way Eric fell. And I do find actually he's got a decent shot on him. You just don't see it often enough, do you really, given what positions he occupies on the pitch. Didn't
he score a Franca for? Didn't Den Donker score a Franca for Belgium in the off season?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it was a strike that was. Yeah.
So he's got it in his locker, mate.
He has, yeah. He gets in really good positions. I mean, how many chances did he fluff last season from really good chance? I can think about 3 or 4 towards the end of the season where they were sitters. But he was there. I mean, we hadn't had any other players there throughout the season, so
no.
I suppose you've got to be there to miss him.
He was getting a bit of the treatment as well, wasn't he? I mean, he got booked early on, didn't he?
Yeah.
There's one guy who felled him, and I think he deliberately left his knee on his head or something like that.
Yeah.
That started off a big argument, and then, I mean, I don't really think what he got booked for was really a yellow card, to be honest. But I just thought, it's just another example of it being an unneedlessly agitated or aggressive friendly. I mean, I don't know whether Alaves got relegated, didn't they? I don't know if they're still bitter they got relegated or something.
Yeah.
La Liga, and they're just taking it out on us. Friendly.
It does feel like it, but as I say, it almost felt like back to almost how we were playing at the start of last season in terms of having that bit more dynamism, a bit more rhythm in our play, which again is refreshing, to be honest, and hopefully signs of things to come. Going in second half, there were changes at half time. We had Podence coming on, and that kind of shifted it to a bit more of a 4-2-3-1 as opposed to a 4-3-3, or even a bit more Podence up front. And also Kilman coming on, and Collins making his. Do you call it making a debut in a friendly? his first appearance in a Wolves shirt.
Yeah.
He can't go on a debut, can he? Until he gets
no, I feel like the Football Cliches podcast will have a thing or two to say about what the definition is of it. As I go ahead and plug other podcasts while we're on here. I'll say in terms of a couple of comments on YouTube, Hungry Like the Wolf has said Bruno is always like the front three to stay fluid and change positions to prevent getting man marks. Completely agree, and I think you throw Podence into that mix as well, and you've almost got between Neto, Gibbs White, and Podence 3 players who you could put in any of the 3 behind a striker, and it wouldn't feel like a drop off in either place. They can all play in those 3 positions, I believe anyway. But changes second half, and with all the crazy things going on in the world right now, we're getting record heat waves. We've got scandal in politics. I think the most shocking thing is seeing Daniel Podence score a header.
It wasn't even that. He's like he got above 2 centre halves. It was unbelievable. What's going on?
those centre halves should never be able to live that down. How they managed to let Podence beat them to a header. I mean, for shame. Hilarious, but
I mean, great. Don't get me wrong. Great header by Podence. Like, if you just thought, it might be like a little bit of a stupid one where he's kind of nipped in there. No, proper. It was you say like that's a header like Tim Cahill would be proud of.
He's decent,
and again, hopefully he has a big season for Wolves, because we talked about it at the end of last season. Like, when he plays, we do tend to win, but he just doesn't have the true output in terms of goals and assists to really make a true impact, which is a bit frustrating personally anyway, because I love watching him play. He's a kind of player who makes you fall in love with football, but that's what I see him play.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you see what kind of gets my pecker up for next season is that 4-2-3-1, and having the 3 of Neto, Podence, then Gibbs White behind Raul. I mean, that's a pretty decent 3, and Podence probably, you might argue, where he might be most effective in that number 10 behind the striker, and then Gibbs White and Neto either side. Neto's probably would hug the wing a bit more than Gibbs White, and Gibbs White will come in, but I think that'd be quite deadly for next season if that's that's definitely an option to us, and we probably won't do it every game, but I'll be happy seeing that every game on the team sheet.
Yeah, like genuinely, if regardless of the other, 8 players or whatever, if those 3 are starting against Leeds, I almost don't feel we've got a lot to complain about as Wolves fans, which is what we want. I mean, going through, we will get onto the Kilman goal. I am saving it. I'm bookmarking it. Quite a few of the young lads came on as well. Did any of them sort of impress you, stand out? I mean, Theo Cabreno came on and again looked really, really handy. I thought, and when he's kind of skipped past a couple of players on the byline, I kind of thought he's only got one foot. He's just got a left foot. Look at because there was almost a refusal to use that right foot. He did the same roll twice and then launched it with his right foot. I was like, okay, and he did a great sort of side roll pass as well to Podence, who I can't work out if it was cross or a shot, but I can see why he's had a couple of good loan moves and sort of been playing at at Football League level compared to maybe like Chem Campbell, who hasn't had those loan moves yet. So, any of those sort of development under 23 players stand out for yourselves, guys?
I think ultimately what I always tend to find with the kids is they're great on the ball. They can move the ball, pass, move, brilliant, skills, great, take on a man. It's always when they come to the final pass, it's the final decision and something that it's almost like you can't teach. You've got to have that experience. It's either that whether we shoot, whether we cry. I think that one that you're referring to there, he could have quite easily had a shot and he maybe made the wrong decision. there's just a rawness about them. Bags of ability by the looks of it. Campbell as well. He had a couple like that. I think out of all of them, just based on what's in last season as well, that Bueno that looks the best, to be honest. I mean, Kundal I'm unsure about. I think he needs a loan personally, but he's got ability. But yeah, that left back looked decent, looked really, really good last season. I watched a couple of the under-23 games, and he really stood out. And I think he's quite highly rated by the academy, and from what I hear from Bruno as well, that he's impressed in pre-season.
Well, I was going to say, I agree with the point in terms of him coming on and looking tidy, but I'm saying in terms of him being rated by the club, the fact that we have released Marcel, or let his contract expire, however you want to look at it. Yes, we do have Johnny who can play either side, but we only kind of have 3 wing backs at a senior level in terms of Aït-Nouri, Johnny, and Semedo. Semedo's out injured still, and I don't think he's probably going to be fit to start of the pre-season. So there's an opportunity for a couple of those young players. You've got Bueno, and I'm going to So I think did Toti Gomez have a
he came on left back, didn't he?
Yeah, I personally think he's more of a centre back.
Yeah, he had a cross that was a question.
Question. It was a centre back's cross. Is how I describe it. Although I think how we describe centre backs on the ball is going to change a little bit. Because firstly, Nathan Collins came on for Cody. You get the feeling that he's what we've been missing. And I don't want to jinx it too early, but just big, strong, good on the ball.
Yeah, he brought it out
exactly what we wanted.
He brought it out defence quite a few times, didn't he? Kilman-esque almost. He quite good on the ball. I'll be honest. I mean, when we signed him, I don't profess to know too much about him, but I'd take the media's viewpoint in the fact that they were lauding him. So obviously, we've got a good one there. If we are going to line up with forward at the back, I know we had this last season where we had forward at the back a few times in pre-season. It changed, but we've got quite a lot of options there now. So just looking at the centre backs alone, we've got the 2 that started, Cody and Bolly. Then we've got on top of that Collins, Kilman, Mosquera, and Gomez, as you say. So that's 7 options just for 2 places. So I'd expect the likes of probably Gomez and Mosquera to be loaned out to maybe back to our favourite Switzerland club. But
or Bolly could go. It wouldn't surprise. I know. Sorry, we won't jump ahead to Twitter corner here. It wouldn't surprise me if Bolly went.
There is that he's probably in the prime slot. He's probably most at risk of going for sure. But I mean, of the young ones, I mean, Kundal, we know what Kundal can do really, because we've seen him have a few games now in the seniors. So I was more looking at, how do we say? Is it Corbianu,
I think.
Corbianu. I'm never sure what's the right pronunciation, but he's obviously quite tricky on the ball, quite skillful. The loans have done him quite well. Whether or not Bruno sees he's up to the level required, we'll see. Maybe this is a reluctance why we haven't signed anyone just yet, because we want to see what these players can do given an opportunity in pre-season. We'll see, but Lembikis did quite well in the 21s as well. So he's probably not one to be starting, but he's one to get a squad place and get a feel for first team squad. So obviously the investment in youth shows we've got quite a few good solid players there to call upon.
Yeah, I think with Corbianu, we'll roll on with pronunciation. The Maple Messi, we're fine. I kind of just feel that I do quite like. I like the look of him. I just think he's almost slightly too far down the depth chart to make an impact, unless he can really, really push on. At which point, it's like, well, maybe you can get a low move to a championship, because I think he's had a couple to League One so far and done all right. It's whether he can sort of do that step up in the same way of a Dion Sanderson or Ryan Giles, who got a hat-trick of assists for Borough in pre-season. You know, I think
assist king. He was last season as well, wasn't he, to be fair?
Yeah. I mean, I'm interested to sort of see whether Wolves can give Giles an opportunity next year, or whether we just slowly just build up his stock value. So if whoever gets promoted next year from, when Norwich inevitably come back up, they can spend 10 million on him. It's going to be one of them. Right, Pricey. Do you want to talk about the Kilman goal?
Well, there's Van Castian's current and old, who had a weird vendetta against him for some reason. But I know it's in the pre-season and it's on the Alavés, but hey, give him the balloon door right now, Max Kilman. What a player, eh? What a guy. I mean, to be honest, when he got the ball and I saw him beat the first guy who tried to rag his shirt down, I never said anything when I was watching it. The whole time he had the ball was running. In my mind, I was saying it all in my mind. Go on. He just kept going and going, and then I thought initially it was coming to a dead end here, and then just cuts inside. Just nonchalance right into the far corner off the post. What a player! What a player! I mean, us
weaker foot as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Weaker foot posting him. Can't argue with that.
Off the post. I mean, for me, he's a surefire starter now. This is where Bruno might have a problem if he's going to play 4 at the back, because it'd be Kilman +1 for me. So he's just been that good since he came in the team. He's not made many mistakes. He's hardly made mistakes since he's been in the team. I'm sure someone will point out one somewhere along the line that he's made, but he's just been rock solid ever since he come in. So good on the ball for a guy his size. His face is permanently like this. Whether he's scored that goal,
I was going to say he still. Let's say he beats 4 men and tucks it in the bottom corner. He still looks like he's doing the weekly shop. I mean, but one thing that stood out to me is he looks like he's been hitting the weights in the pre-season. I know he's been out injured, but he looks a lot bigger, and that's frankly terrifying, considering he was already a decent-sized guy, but he looks bigger, he looks stronger. And you say, as soon as he brushed that bloke off him, that's in the 90th minute as well. It's just it almost reminded me of Joleon Lescott in his last season with Wolves, when he was clearly better than everyone else on the pitch. And was I'll just drag this game forward. And what I liked most about that goal is for Kilman, he won't care if that's pre-season or if that was in the Premier League, because he'd do exactly the same thing. I'm convinced of it. He wouldn't, again, if that's against Leeds, he isn't going to kind of beat that first man and brush him off and go, oh, I'll just pass it off now. He'd be running still through anyway. I love the bloke. I think he's brilliant.
So if it tries against Leeds, guaranteed there was someone who will actually go and try and chop him down. To be honest,
they might hack him down a bit sooner, but overall, I think it's been a great night at the office for Wolves. Say 4-0, comfortable 4-0 win. Good, attractive football. The type of football that we expect is a strong word, that we anticipate from these players as well. And even the fact that quite a few youngsters got to get some minutes as well, I think's been really good, and hopefully stands us in good stead for the next couple of pre-season friendly games.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said before, it's about system and style, and there was a lot to be happy about. It was a change. It's not just what we've been used to for the last 4 or 5 seasons of sort of 3/5 at the back, and the same old. So it's just nice to see a bit of a change, and I'm pretty confident he's going to stick with this now. I can't see him backtracking like he did last season. I think now he has a bit more confidence in the players that he's got. Like he's touched on Kilman there and Collins. I think they've got the real makings of a decent centre half pairing. I think obviously there's bigger tests to come in going the other way. That they weren't a significant test for us defensively. Let's face it. So let's see what happens with that. But you can only beat what's in front of you. And as I said, I think there were a lot of positives to come out of that.
Yeah, completely agree. We're going to take a short break, guys. We'll be back in quite literally 44 seconds time to talk a little bit about transfers and some of your questions from Twitter Corner. Speak to you in a sec.
Hi all, Gully from Wolves Fancast here, and just like all of you long-suffering Wolves fans, I know exactly what it feels like to be lacking a creative spark here, some outside-of-the-box thinking there, but our sponsors Pixel Yeti Media are here to help. They're a creative agency that cover all of your web design, branding and marketing needs, with our very own WolvesFancast.com, a fine example of their work. So much so that I hear Jeff Shee is looking to do a deal this summer. For now, it's back to the team to ask just where the Diogo Jota money is gone. We may have just had our answer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. In terms of transfers, we've only really had one major incoming, which is Nathan Collins from Burnley. We touched upon it briefly during the talk about Alaves. All pretty happy on it. I think the entire fan base. I don't know if it was just because it was a signing, but I think it just ticked all the boxes, didn't it, as a fan?
Yeah, I think it ticked a lot of boxes for Fosun as well, didn't it? A decent price, around £20 million mark. I can't remember the last player we didn't, first teamer that we signed that wasn't in around £20 million. In a young player with sort of bags of potential, really highly rated. I'm surprised. Obviously, you get a lot from the vibe from the fans of the selling team, and they were all absolutely gutted, and they thought we'd absolutely done them over basically on the fee, which I think says a lot for someone who's only played. Did he only play 19 games for them or something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're mate,
50 career appearances.
Yeah. I mean, he was captain of Stoke at 18, I think. Burnley fans loved him. Within 19 games, he kept Ben Mee out the side, who's like a god. At Burnley, outplayed Tarkowski. It was hard to find a negative. I think the only thing they mentioned was he can make a couple of rash decisions, or daft decisions. I think he got a silly red card, and I think there was a handball against Newcastle, which ultimately, cost them their status in the Premier League. But you're gonna get that from a 21-year-old. So yeah, a lot to be optimistic about, I think, with this one, and it's a centre half signing, which we haven't had for 5 years, something like that. So it's a positive in itself. Yeah. Vallejo, he isn't. So yeah, fingers crossed. It's let's cross our fingers and hope that he's the one for us.
I mean, Champions League winner. Jesus,
I couldn't believe that.
Lest we forget. I mean,
I'm gonna start putting myself out there to some teams. I think if he can win Champions League,
there is a bit if he can play for Real Madrid, so can I. Vibes with it. In terms of outgoings, now, but I guess there's some that are still to be decided. But one which did happen, I think it's caught a lot by surprise from the front of it, especially me, is Fabio Silva going to Anderlecht on loan for a season. Pricey. Do you think that's a good move for the player, and do you think it's a good move for Wolves?
See, the thing is with Silva is that he will, like Gibbs White, just clearly needs a season of just playing every single week. Now, obviously, as long as Raul's here, he ain't going to get that here. Raul is still our guy, come what may. There was a few times last season when Silva got the nod ahead of Raul. I think Bruno was just trying things at that point, It can't be great for his confidence to finish a season when he played as many games as he did and finished on 0 goals. That's not going to be great for his confidence. It's also not won't make Fosun very happy because he's the big ticket investment, isn't he? And in 2 years, we've got 4 goals out of him, I think. But we knew this was a long-term deal when we bought him. I do think it's quite smart that we've extended his deal by a year and then loaned him out. So we're not losing any time off his contract, per se. He's gone to a fairly decent level. So I believe they're in the Champions League.
Yeah.
So he will play at the highest level in that regard. So not when it comes to league fixtures, but he will play against the top defenders in the world, whoever they draw against the Champions League.
I think he might be Europa. Sorry, Adam. I think it's Europa. I might be wrong. I don't think it's Champions League. I think it's Europa. That's right. I think Company got him in the Champions League.
Well,
I might be wrong.
Either way, he'll still come up against like some decent teams.
Agrees. Yeah.
If it's Europa, fair enough. I wasn't to know, but the idea being is that he'll get a good hopefully he'll get a good season of consistent games behind him. Hopefully he scores goals. We saw the video already, probably on Twitter today. He's always scored over a kick in training, so he's off to a good start. Yeah, I mean, it obviously wasn't doing him any favours here when he's coming on for like 5-10 minutes a game for Raul. He's not getting the development that he needs, not getting the consistent game time. The risk lies in that if we loan him out to a lower level, like we have done, the Belgian league, if he still doesn't get that many goals, then there'll be serious questions asked then, because his value is going to plummet, and who's going to what we're going to do then? Are we going to cut our losses and try and sell him, and who's going to want him, or do we try again with another loan and extend his contract again by another year and try and continue to show the faith? But it's a roll of the dice, isn't it? We've got to try and find a way to get him to work. Raul's not going to be here forever. Raul's gone past 30 now, and Silva has been earmarked as the future striker for us. So I really wish him well. I'll keep a lookout for their results every week to see who's getting on. I really hope that he can get, I don't know, what will we class as an acceptable level of goals in the Belgian league? 15 and above, maybe. I don't know.
High teens, yeah, I agree. Yeah, high teens at least.
Yeah, minimum double figures. He needs to perform. Do you think it was a bit of an odd move, Tom, that he went to Belgium, or do you think it's like? Because I was sort of thinking in terms of Gibbs White, let's say, who's done really well at Championship level. That's been a good sort of proving ground with him. Do you think going abroad's, I guess, take him a little bit out of the spotlight?
Yeah, that's my thinking. I think the Championship, the spotlight's on him. A £35 million striker in the Championship, it gets highlighted with which is absolutely fair enough. So I think it's a decent enough level to sort of test himself and hopefully to get some goals. Without sort of going too far the other way and him sort of struggling really. It's a tough one. I thought Portugal might have been one place for him, but again, he could have. We've sent players on loan to Portugal before and it hasn't worked. So I think I'm at the point on I think there's a player review video. I didn't think we could go into the season with both of them still here. I think we needed a different striker, and if we needed a new striker ultimately. And if we were only going to play one striker, in the game, you can't have those being two of the three, because they're not going to be happy. Or they're not going to be happy sat on the bench. Fabio needs to develop. He needs, like Ad says, he needs a run of games. It's done wonders for Gibbs White, and he's got bags of ability. We know that, so I'm optimistic, and I think it's a really smart move of the club to extend his contract as well. I think, and they even got an extra year out of it, which again is smart. It's good business.
And I think I'm thinking.
Oh, sorry, Rich, I was going to say, what you think? What this should mean is that we should see an incoming striker coming in. We can't not that stupid season with just Raul. I mean, surely Jeff's not that willing to self-inflict harm on us, but there's probably still a few more to come in. Actually, I would imagine. Obviously, we were quite toxic before Collins come in, and when Collins come in, it's all gone away, hasn't it? So like I know it's a defender which I've had for a while, but it's probably not the most pressing position that we need. We still need a midfielder and striker. But since Collins has come in, I think all that toxicity has gone away. Maybe because that's just got the monkey off our back that we made a signing. But yeah, now with Silva going, we're gonna have to. It's always the tricky situation of getting the striker in, who will come in knowing he will be back up and will sit on the bench for probably the same amount of time that Silva has done. So I don't know where they're going to pull that particular rabbit out of a particular hat, but we do need to get in and get some win.
I can see us maybe signing someone who can play either as a striker or as one of the, someone behind the striker, not someone such as a Guedes or a Gabigol. They can actually play on, wide, I think wide right or wide left. Get us on the left. Oh Christ, no! Well, no, sorry, clean slate. Sorry.
Clean slate.
I'm gonna say, yeah.
Wait until after Leeds. We can get back on the agenda after Leeds. But until that ball is kicked, they're all on level pegs. I mean, I was trying to think of potential signings. And there was a guy out in La Liga last season who got decent record, 8 goals, 32 appearances, a lot of experience behind him. A guy called William Jose. Can we see a return for him?
No, get me Benteke instead.
Yeah, I was going to say that was an interesting link.
No, yeah.
Is that that must be the genuine William Jose, because I'm sure we had the imposter here a couple of years ago. I'm sure of it.
No,
like the Ali Dia. This generation's Ali Dia.
Yeah, that was a funny one. Again, I think we're all kind of optimistic and hopeful that more players are going to come in, and we're. I know. I feel like whether it's optimism or blind faith, it sort of feels that we're not going to necessarily lose a lot of key players. I know we had a question from Twitter Corner, which I shall bring up and hopefully select the right one straight away. Yeah, do you think any of our players will leave? Will leave after the season starts, but it kind of feels that a lot of talk around Neves has quietened down a bit. Traore, I think there's still a question mark over, but it feels like we're going to keep the nucleus of players.
Yeah, Wallace, amazing. Neves is here. I really hope he starts. I'm still a bit worried. I just worried that there'll be a big come in, say for United. Let's say, for example, like the De Jong deal falls through, and they just slap a bid down that we can't. That Jeff will see the pound signs, and then we're up at shit creek. But I don't know. I don't think Adama stays. I think Adama will still go. I can't see him staying. I think, as I say, Bolly's at risk. I think, and either Mosquera or Gomez maybe on loan. Go out on loan.
I think Adama could do a championship move, couldn't he?
I think the thing with Neves is that right now there's not many teams out there who, as daft as it sounds, needs a Neves right now for the money that will cost to get him out of Wolves. That De Jong thing might force United's hand, and then it depends. I guess depends whether Neves wants to go there, because there is still some hesitancy on going to United, because quite clearly their problems are more than just a new head coach or whatever. So there's a chance. There is a chance, yes, that he could go before September the 1st. So we're going to have a nervous few weeks in regards to that, to be honest. Adama is here in body only, to be honest. He's not. He quite clearly doesn't want to be here. It's up to him whether he wants to compete for a place, with the across the front three, if that's what it is, or 3 behind Jimenez. But he quite clearly wants out. I don't really think that's up for much debate. He clearly wants out. And then, if we do have a bit of a surplus of defenders at the moment, so you could see 1 or 2 of those either going out on loan, or, as I said before, potentially Bolly is the one who is most at risk, I'd say, because certainly based on last season, he's not been as dependable as he once was, both in form and fitness.
Yeah. Am I right in thinking that Ollie's out of contract at the end of in 2023? So if we're looking to make any money, if anything, out of all the, essentially the way I see it is we've got 4 senior centre halves in terms of Bolly, Cody, Collins, and Kilman. Now Kilman isn't going anywhere because he signed a long-term deal. Great season last season. Collins obviously isn't. So at least Cody and Bolly, if we're looking at those two, I think actually you could have play forward back with those 4 centre halves, and we could happily debate which 2 should start. But either Wolves could loan out Mosquera, Gomez, send them out to the Championship and develop their game, or they can look to make money and use backup and use the young players as backup. I know I kind of touted it last season. I don't quite see Cody going at this point.
No, I don't see.
I think if he was going to go, he'd have been bought earlier, because I think a club would have wanted to, tap into his leadership skills and whatever. And you'd want him at the start of a preseason when you wouldn't want him necessarily to join, just as the season starts, if that's how things work, I guess. But yeah. I think the other one I wanted to sort of touch on before we sort of wrap up and have a couple of questions is Gibbs White as well. Now, I think the fan base has shifted much more towards keeping him, integrating him into the squad. However, initially, and I think we could all see it coming, he was going to get linked to some of the newly promoted teams. I think Forest was sniffing around. But then Everton came in, and the word from the club was, if they hit £25 million, that is the price tag we've set, almost similar to Josper in a way. But if they hit that price, then yeah. I mean, do you see him actually going for 25 million, or do you think it's just Everton being not very good at transfers as usual?
It comes from the Thelwell Prosser stuff, doesn't it? So Prosser was, he was Prosser's protege, sort of, in the youth system at Wolves. They massively rated him. Obviously, Thelwell's there. You got the Lampard young English player sort of link. I'm more confident he stays now. I don't know if did you see when he came off? Bruno was cuddling him, talking. I think he's a bit of he's a bit of a project almost for him now. I think maybe this is the one where Bruno sort of puts his foot down and says, "Look, I want to keep him." And I think I can completely get why he's not signed that contract yet, because of how he's been burnt in the past. So I think it's one of those where, okay, let's see how we go for the first couple of months of the season. If I'm in the side playing well, I'm enjoying myself, let's do the deal. If I'm not in the side, let's look at it in January and stuff, or at the end of that season. But again, I wasn't a massive fan of his, to be honest. If you'd have said at the start of last season, 25 million for Gibbs White, obviously, to snap your hand off. It's whether we trust the recruitment team to invest that 25 million, wisely, which is open for debate as we stand. If that's the difference between getting like this is pie in the sky stuff potentially, but getting a Nunes and not maybe let's have a think about it. If you sell Gibbs White and Adama, it gives you the money to push the button on Nunes. I mean, that's got to come into conversation, I suppose. But at the moment, I'm probably pretty keen to keep him. He suits the current. It looks like he suits the system, how Bruno wants to play really, really well, and I think that'll definitely counts in his favour of staying.
Yeah, 1,000%. When I said sort of about Everton being bad transfers, it's not because I don't rate Gibbs White. It's just like I think 25 million is. I think it's a very high threshold for him. Is how I'd describe it. I could see him going for that sweet 18 million spot, which is why I think the club have set it. Cause it's like, well, you know what? If you really want to pay that much for this premium, and say it ticks a lot of boxes from Everton's point of view. To say they've got people who have worked with him, Lampard. You've said it, Tom. So it's hungry like for Wolf on YouTube. Like English players, and we said he can. One of the best players in the Championship last season. Why wouldn't you fancy him if you current clubs? But I see no reason why Wolves can't give him till January. And you say that can be our stick or twist. Either we give him a long-term deal and invest in him, or we try and make some money off him. And, I think a lot of fans are particularly probably after today as well, will be of the opinion, yeah, let's ride with Gibbs White. As far as I'm aware, there's not been any other sort of major rumours in terms of departures. There's lots of incomings flying about, which, how much relevance we put into them. So we're going to have to wait and see, I guess. Shall I have a couple of questions from Twitter Corner before we wrap up, guys?
Let's.
So, we've got a couple lined up here. We've already had that one, Rich. So, first and foremost, thanks for everyone who's tweeted us in. First one from Comrade is, what have you all been up to all summer? I've missed you. It's the exact kind of message I want to hear. Thank you. We've missed you too. Have you always been up to anything interesting in the last, 2 months, apart from having to pay a lot of money for fuel?
I've been building one of those Dunster House climbing frames in my back garden, which when my garden gradient is like multiple, for the visual viewers, it's like that. For the non-visual viewers, it's just basically all over the shop. Trying to get it on a flat ground has been somewhat entertaining, to say the least. And also I decided to create more work for myself by putting some sleepers around to make a border. So pretty much all my evenings, most of my weekends, been made up by doing that. Although obviously I chose to not do anything to it on Monday and Tuesday this week because I probably would have melted whilst doing it.
Yeah. So, how about you? What have you been up to recently?
A few trips to Lake District. Love it up there. Yeah, I saw a guy take out a wall and a hedge in reversing down a road at about 30, 40 miles an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, banked his car, took out a wall to this house, and then reversed into a hedge, and then had the audacity to ask me to push him out of the hedge.
I hope you said what everyone should say at that point. That was you can't park there, mate.
Yeah, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
I was so dumbstruck what I saw. Yeah, that was fun. Anyway, and yeah, I've been painting the outside the house. Pretty boring stuff, to be honest. That's about the extent of my summer so far.
Fair enough. Hopefully it all ramps up for us all over the August break as much as anything else then. Right, 2 questions left. So King Wolf asks, if I can actually bring it up, should paella include chorizo or not? So I'm assuming this is half like Spain related, or it could just be an incredibly middle class question. I'm happy with either. But what are our thoughts on chorizo and paella?
Yeah, I'm up for that. Yeah,
I guess it can do. I mean, my mate's wife and therefore family are from Andalusia in Spain, and they cooked me paella before, and it was spot on. I think that had prawns in it and one with chicken. So if you can have paella with prawns and or chicken, I'm pretty sure you could just chuck chorizo in there as well. So my view is yes, it can.
Fair enough. Apparently, it is a thing about you shouldn't put chorizo in paella. I don't know why. I think because
like the pineapple on pizza debate.
I think it is. I think this is of which I mean, to be fair, I'm pro pineapple on pizza, so I feel like I should be. No. I don't understand why you're not allowed to. I don't understand the hatred towards it. Is it because it's a fruit? We can roast fruit. I don't understand. You can have an apple pie. That's fruit. So why can't I have pineapple? I don't get it. I don't get the answer. Because you can't.
I'm so indifferent. Everyone seems to have like an angle on this. Yeah. I'm so indifferent. I don't care. I put it on, don't put it on. I don't care. The pizza is the main bit. Just let me enjoy my pizza.
Yeah. I think it gives it, would I necessarily go for a Hawaiian? Not really, but I'm not going to throw it out if it's on the table. That's how I look at it. But I think chorizo and in paella, I'm hoping literally someone in. Okay. So King Wolf, who has been watching all evening, so big shout out to Him says chorizo is an oily meat and will taint the flavours. Now,
So you can't. But what about what makes paella so different? So you're saying put a blanket ban on chorizo?
Yeah, I think as far as I'm aware, I think chorizo is quite seafood based. I feel like I should have come into this with more knowledge, which is why you usually have prawns
Chorizo
in
is
it.
like sausage cut, isn't it?
Spicy sausage, isn't it?
Spicy sausage.
It's spicy sausage. Yeah. I feel that this chat could develop. I'm interested to see how
today's MasterChef.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like I should have come into this with more knowledge. Lastly, from Soccer Near Fates podcast, have you filled the Premier League size hole in your soul all summer? I mean, we've talked about what we've been up to. Have there been any sports you've been kind of keeping up with recently? Have you been watching much of the Women's Euros? Yeah.
Been watching that. I've got a couple of tickets to some Commonwealth Games events starting next week.
Yeah, me too.
So,
lovely.
Randomly, I've got to go to Coventry to watch Rugby Sevens. That's my son just picked that randomly because I think he was playing a Rugby Sevens game on the Switch on Sonic Mario Olympics at the time. So we've ended up going to that. And then we're going to a proper sort of Commonwealth Games event, track and field one, the following week. So that'll be good. To watch track and field
I got track and field. I don't know which one. And then we somehow got tickets to India Pakistan cricket at Edgbaston. So that's going to be spicy. Looking forward to that. The cricket's been pretty good. I don't know cricket fans out there, but it's been good watching the Test side since the new era. That's filled the hole for me. That's been good watching.
That'll be Chorizo level of spice. That'll be.
It will.
So actually, to be fair, thinking about it, it's been quite a lot of good sport because we had Wimbledon as well, and we had Nick Kyrgios get into the final of Wimbledon. As I say, the rugby's been good the last couple of weeks as well. If anyone's into that, it's almost like football isn't the only sport, but it is the best sport, and I think that's a good note to leave it on. We're going to wrap it up today, guys. Big thanks to everyone who's tuned in for the first show of the season. We will be back after the Besiktas game to talk a little bit about friendly and hopefully bring a bit more transfer news, fingers crossed, but you never know with Wolves, do we? But big thanks to our sponsors, Pixel Yeti Media, and of course 90 Min. And make sure you're following us on all our social media accounts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you're not already, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. I say that like this is on YouTube, but also you could be listening to it. So make sure you do it as well. Until next time, it's goodbye from Tom.
Bye, Wolves fans.
It's goodbye from Adam.
Hasta la vista, baby.
And it's goodbye from me. See you in Europa League.